Welcome to Infinite Universe with interesting episode. For many years, he worked quietly, welding in his small garage, building beautiful custom cars out of pieces that most people would throw away as junk. He didn't have the best tools, or a fancy workshop, but he had something far more important, a strong belief that it's not about what you have, but about what you can create with it. That belief helped him stand out. Fans around the world began to follow his journey. They were amazed by his talent, his courage, and his raw, fearless attitude. Every car he made was a piece of art, and every video he posted was full of energy and excitement. But behind all that success, something darker was building. Something he didn't talk about, something he kept hidden for a long time. And at the age of 53, Chad Hiltz, who the world knows as Bad Chad, finally revealed the truth. He said something fans had been suspecting for years. His life wasn't just about building cars or making a television show. It wasn't only about handling fame, money, or dealing with the pressure of being in the spotlight. What he finally revealed went much deeper. It was something emotional, something personal, and it left fans feeling shocked, heartbroken, and even angry. In one very honest moment, Chad quietly said, "I'm forced to hide this." It was just a short sentence, but those words carried so much pain. The question was, what had he been hiding all these years? And why? What could be so heavy, so painful, that even a bold and strong man like Chad Hiltz would feel the need to hide it? Long before he became known to the world as Bad Chad, he was just Chad Hiltz, a boy growing up in the small town of Canning, Nova Scotia. He didn't come from a rich family. There were no expensive tools or big-name sponsors helping him out. He didn't attend a famous school or work in some top-level garage. He was just a kid with big dreams and very few resources. But even as a teenager, Chad showed signs of something special. He had grit, determination, and a wild imagination. Where other people saw trash, he saw possibility. While most would walk past a rusty pile of parts, Chad saw a future hot rod. He didn't just fix things, he transformed them. His early years weren't easy. Chad dropped out of high school and went through a rough youth. He didn't follow the traditional path. He had to work hard and fight for everything. But inside that small-town rebel was a genius, someone who could turn nothing into something incredible. His builds were never ordinary. He used leftover metal, scrap, old signs, broken tools, anything he could find. He didn't just build cars, he created something personal, something powerful. People noticed. That fearless approach, that total refusal to follow anyone's rules, made him different from every other car builder out there. Chad's big break came when the Discovery Channel launched a new show called Bad Chad Customs. The show was not about million-dollar budgets or giant, spotless garages. It was about something real. It was set in his humble garage, Hiltz Auto Company, where Chad and his small team, including his life partner Jolene McIntyre, worked on ambitious projects with very little money. Viewers were drawn in by the unique designs, but even more by Chad himself. He wasn't like anyone else on television. He was energetic, passionate, and raw. He didn't follow industry standards. He made his own path. If he didn't have the right part, he made one. If he needed to paint something, he might use a spoon. If he had to weld, he used whatever metal was lying around. And people loved it. The first season of Bad Chad Customs aired in 2019. It quickly gained millions of fans around the world. Even when production of Season 3 was delayed due to global events, Chad and Jolene kept their connection with fans alive through social media. To fans, Chad wasn't just a builder. He was a symbol of what was possible when someone refuses to quit. He represented hope, freedom, and the idea that greatness doesn't come from having the most, it comes from doing the most with what you have. But this image of Chad, the myth of the fearless, unstoppable genius, also created pressure. People expected him to be a certain way all the time. He became a legend, not just a person. Fans began to see him as a hero, and that meant he wasn't allowed to be human anymore. Every post, every video, every build was analyzed and judged. And the weight of that judgment began to wear him down. Some fans started to notice small changes. Chad was still full of energy, but something felt different. Sometimes his smile didn't feel real. Sometimes he looked tired. People started whispering, was Chad okay? As Chad's fame grew, so did the number of critics. Online forums started tearing apart his work. They called him reckless. They said his cars weren't safe. Some said he was just doing it all for TV. Others mocked his intelligence, his style, and even his relationship with Jolene. It was no longer just about cars, it became personal. But Chad never responded with anger. He just kept working. He kept building. He kept smiling. On the outside, it looked like nothing could shake him. But on the inside, something was changing. Over time, Chad began to struggle. He had created a character, Bad Chad, but now he had to live up to that character every day. There was no room for failure. No room for rest. No room for weakness. He couldn't admit that he was tired. He couldn't say that the pressure was too much. He believed that if he showed any weakness, people would stop believing in him. So, he kept it all inside. He didn't tell his fans. He didn't even tell Jolene. At first, he tried to fight the pain by working harder. He made more cars, longer videos, crazier builds. He thought if he gave the fans more, they'd love him more, and maybe that would quiet the critics. But the harder he pushed, the worse he felt. He stopped sleeping well. He felt anxious all the time. The thing he loved most, building cars, started to feel like a job he couldn't escape. He wasn't doing it for joy anymore. He was doing it to survive the legend that had been built around him. Then, one night, he finally broke the silence. He made a quiet video. No loud music, no flashy editing. Just Chad in his garage. He looked different, older, more tired, almost like the weight of the world was sitting on his shoulders. And then he said it, I'm forced to hide this. He talked about the years of hate mail, the cruel messages, the comments that attacked not just his work but his soul. Some people said he was a fake. Some said he was dangerous. Others said worse, things too cruel to repeat. At first, he tried to ignore the hate. But it kept coming. He started printing the worst messages and locking them in a drawer in his workshop. That drawer became a symbol of the pain he refused to show. No one knew it was there. Not his fans, not his crew, not even Jolene. He told himself the drawer didn't matter. But it did. Every letter inside chipped away at his confidence, his happiness, and his mental health. Chad kept working. He kept filming. But his creativity began to suffer. He couldn't focus. He was always worried. He felt like every car he built was just another test he had to pass. If people didn't love it, maybe they would stop believing in him. Maybe they would leave. That fear began to control his life. He didn't feel free anymore. He felt trapped inside a story he didn't write. Fans started to notice. His posts became less frequent. His energy seemed off. Some began to speculate. Was something wrong? Was there trouble in his relationship? Was he quitting the show? Rumors spread fast, and people made guesses. But no one knew the real truth until Chad spoke up. When he finally did, the response was powerful. Thousands of fans sent messages of support. They thanked him for being honest. They told him he was still their hero. They reminded him that it was okay to be human. Some even shared their own stories of pain, depression, and burnout. In that moment, Chad stopped being just a symbol. He became something even more important, he became real. Chad's story isn't just about cars. It's about the danger of turning people into myths. It's about what happens when someone tries to live up to a perfect image that doesn't allow mistakes. For years, Chad inspired people by showing them that you could do amazing things with very little. But now, he's inspiring people in a new way by showing them that it's okay to not be okay. That even the strongest people need help. That pain, when hidden for too long, can become too heavy to carry alone. He is still building. Still creating. But now he's doing it with more honesty. He's not trying to be perfect anymore. He's trying to be true. And that is what makes Chad Hiltz not just a great builder, but a truly great man. His story is no longer just about overcoming poverty or building amazing cars. It's about surviving the pressure of fame. It's about choosing to speak the truth when staying silent is easier. And it's about reminding the world that behind every myth, there's a real person with hopes, fears, pain, and courage. That courage is what makes his story matter. That's why people will keep watching, keep supporting, and keep believing not just in the legend of Bad Chad, but in the real man behind the myth. For a long time, Chad Hiltz, known by many as Bad Chad, carried the weight of a public image that wasn't fully real. People saw him as a fearless car builder, a rebellious guy who didn't let anything bother him. But the truth was very different. Deep inside, Chad was hurting. Still, he felt like he had to keep playing the role fans expected of him. He thought if he showed how much he was struggling, people would see it as weakness, and that scared him. So, he kept smiling for the cameras, kept building unique cars out of junk, and kept his pain hidden from everyone. But just because he didn't talk about it didn't mean it went away. The stress and sadness started to eat away at him, affecting everything he did. His creativity started to slow down. His energy dropped. The excitement he once felt when turning rusty metal into beautiful art faded away, and what replaced it was the heavy feeling of responsibility. Chad wasn't just creating cars anymore. He was creating a mask, a form of emotional armor to hide behind. Every comment online, every whisper of criticism, started to stick with him. And because he never let those emotions out, the burden grew. Eventually, it became too heavy to carry in silence. So Chad did something very rare. In one of his videos, he told the truth. He didn't try to make it dramatic or shocking. He just talked honestly. He shared how for years, he kept all the pain inside while pretending everything was fine. He explained how fans had built up an image of who they wanted him to be, and he felt forced to live up to it, even though it was hurting him. What Chad said in that video wasn't just about himself. It was a bigger message about how people in the spotlight are treated. We often expect them to be strong all the time, especially if their image is about toughness, like Chad's. And when they finally show they're human, we don't know how to handle it. Chad's decision to speak out was brave. It tore down the false image people had of him. He didn't end the video with some big solution or a happy ending. He just showed up as himself, real, vulnerable, and not pretending anymore. That was powerful. It was the moment when the man behind the legend finally stepped forward. He wasn't perfect or unbreakable. He was just a person, doing his best. When Chad first appeared on television with Bad Chad Customs on Discovery Channel, he quickly went from being a local builder in Nova Scotia to becoming a worldwide name in the custom car scene. The show's concept was different from others. Instead of big garages and massive budgets, it was just a small-town guy with no formal training, turning scrap metal and old parts into wild and creative cars. There were no expensive tools, no sponsors, just talent and hard work. People loved it. Chad had a unique way of speaking and thinking. He wasn't trying to be like anyone else. He was just himself, and that stood out. His builds weren't always smooth or perfect, but they had heart. That's why people kept watching. They liked Chad not because he was flawless, but because he was real. The show got popular fast. It aired in many countries and became one of the top shows on the network. But behind the scenes, everything wasn't so great. As the show grew, so did the demands. What started as a raw, creative project turned into a heavily produced TV program. The producers wanted storylines. They wanted everything to be on a tight schedule. They wanted more drama, more emotion from Chad, not just from the cars. Soon, the scenes had to be filmed over and over again. Dialogues were repeated for better sound. Everything started to feel fake. The very things that made the show special were being slowly stripped away. And the freedom that Chad once had was shrinking. The more famous the character Bad Chad became, the more tired the real Chad felt. While all this was happening, Chad started focusing more on YouTube. He had posted a few videos before, behind-the-scenes stuff, build updates, and short clips, but now, YouTube became his escape. It was a place where he had control. Unlike TV, where every decision had to go through producers, YouTube gave him freedom. He could wake up, film a video, and upload it the same day. He didn't have to ask anyone for permission. It was simple, and it was his. According to McIntyre, one of Chad's partners, the timing was perfect. People were already starting to move away from TV and watching more YouTube. Chad's subscriber count began to rise. Even when the third season of his TV show was delayed because of the pandemic, his YouTube channel kept growing. Fans who wanted to see the real Chad followed him there. They didn't want a polished TV character. They wanted the real guy, and that's what they got. In his YouTube videos, Chad started opening up. He didn't need music or fancy editing to make a point. He could just sit in his shop and talk. He spoke about what it was really like to feel burned out. He talked about the stress of always trying to meet expectations. He shared what it's like to build cars when the cameras are gone and the bills are still coming in. He didn't worry about whether his stories would fit into a neat episode format. He just talked from the heart. Chad even tried new things, Q&A sessions with fans, deep thoughts while sanding down metal, and even videos about mental health and creativity. These videos weren't perfect. They were a little shaky, sometimes all over the place, but they felt honest. They felt human. Watching his videos felt like sitting across the table from a friend. The effect of Chad's YouTube channel was much bigger than anyone expected. It wasn't just good for him, it was good for the people watching. In a world where influencers carefully design every second of their videos to look perfect, Chad was different. He showed flaws. He made mistakes and owned them. He was passionate, not polished. People connected with that. His channel became more than just a place for car lovers. It became a space for anyone who felt tired of fake expectations. People started sharing their own stories in the comments. They talked about projects they were scared to start, or how they felt judged for doing things differently, or how they too had to hide their struggles. Chad wasn't just a builder anymore. He became someone people saw themselves in. He reminded everyone that being real is more important than being perfect. Now, Chad's YouTube channel has millions of views and fans from all over the world. He may not be on a big TV network anymore, but he doesn't need it. What he has now is real, and real can't be faked. He's not following anyone else's timeline. He's not answering to executives. He's just being himself, and people love him for it. By speaking his truth and creating content his way, Chad didn't just leave television behind, he stepped into a better chapter of his life. This new chapter isn't about being famous. It's about being free. Even though Chad walked away from the spotlight of TV, he isn't slowing down. He's just choosing a different path. YouTube has become his creative home. It's where he can work on what he loves without pressure. It's where he can share his life in real time, answering fan questions, welding parts, and offering advice based on years of experience. And he's not doing it alone. His partner Jolene is right there with him. Together, they're working on building something bigger than just cars. They're building a community. There are exciting plans ahead. Chad and Jolene want to offer exclusive content, online classes, and even live events where fans can meet him in person. These events will be about more than just watching him work. People will be able to learn from him, ask questions, and get involved in real builds. It's not about creating a brand anymore. It's about making a real difference. Chad wants to inspire others, to give them the courage to try, to fail, and to keep going anyway. The next chapter of Chad's life is not about fixing his image or chasing fame. It's about purpose. He's using his platform to reach people in a meaningful way. Whether it's through joint builds, mentorship, or just simple behind-the-scenes videos, Chad is doing what he loves on his own terms. He's building more than cars. He's building trust. He's building honesty. And most of all, he's building himself back up. Have you ever had to let go of something that looked good on the outside just to feel right on the inside? That's what Chad did. And in doing so, he found a better version of himself. He found peace. He found purpose. And now, he's helping others do the same. Thank you for reading. If you've ever struggled to keep up appearances, if you've ever felt like hiding your true self, know this: being real is not a weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. Just like Chad showed us. See you in the next story. Thanks for watching. Keep it and stay tuned. Like and subscribe our channel. Have a good day.